Hey guys, Derek here. I put in roughly 700 hours into Ironsight, so I want to make a game review video. So this won't be a complete clip breakdown, like here are the guns, here are the gameplay. I'm going to be talking over a gameplay footage, and then I'm also going to show some clips at the end. But yeah, let's get into it. So Ironsight is a free-to-play, fast-paced arcade shooter from Steam. I've broken this down into a few categories here. We have gameplay, gunplay, maps, perks and streaks, optimizations and netcode, and then an overall score out of 10 at the end. So I've broken down these categories, and we're just going to discuss each one and give it an appropriate ranking. So the first one being gameplay. So I've broken down gameplay into a few different categories. We have flow, movement, time to kill, utilities, UI, and the replay value, like the replayability of the game. So first one being flow. So I gave this a 9 out of 10. And this is the overall pace of the game, the fluidity. In my opinion, it's basically unmatched in not only free-to-play games, but paid games as well. I haven't played a game that's this fast since an old-school Call of Duty. And this is honestly probably the feature, I guess, of the game that makes me want to keep coming back to it. There's nothing quite like it out there. Next one being movement. I gave this one a 9 out of 10 as well. There's a lot of options that can get you in and out of trouble. You can drop shot while hip firing. There's jumping. The speed of the movement, especially with the double time perk. There's a lot of ways to, kind of outplay an opponent and get yourself in and out of sticky situations. It's not overly linear, and it just feels good. The movement of the game does feel good. So that one's a 9 out of 10. And then I also put in time to kill, and I gave this a 9 out of 10 as well. I love games like this that it doesn't kill you in like a blink, like, the newer Call of Duties do. Or it doesn't take awkwardly long, like if you're on Escape from Tarkov with bad ammo against someone with good gear, and you hit them 15 times and they barely took any damage. So, the time to kill rewards the better shooter in most situations. Not all of them, but most of them. So I feel like sometimes, even if two people take the corner at the same time, usually it not even depending what gun they have in a lot of cases. If it's AR versus AR, it is pretty balanced to the point where if I missed a bullet or two, I'm probably gonna die if he just aimed better, right? The time to kill rewards the better aimer a lot of the time. So even if I started getting hit in the back, I know I can immediately strafe and do a 180 and still have a chance, when in other games, that's not really the case. I can try to use some of the movement, like the jumping and the proning and whatever, to try to get out of those sticky situations, what I was saying, and still have a fighting chance, basically. The next one is utilities, and that's a 9 out of 10 as well. And what I mean by this is, your other slots. You have flashbangs, you have the gas, you have the stim. This adds to the gameplay, but it doesn't make anything unbalanced. So the stim shot isn't incredibly fast and overpowered, gives you 100% health like a newer Call of Duty does. The flashes, I would say, as annoying as they are to get hit by, that's pretty much how it should be. I think it's pretty well balanced there. Smoke nades, all of that, it's all useful, but it's not overpowering. So I gave the utilities of the game a 9 out of 10. The next one I have is UI, just the user interface. Just basically what you're seeing on your screen while you're playing. Your radar gives you a lot of information. You can see where your teammates are. You see your ammo. You see the appropriate amount of stuff for an arcade shooter like Ironsight. So I gave that a 9 out of 10. I think adding more stuff would be a little hectic, and taking away stuff, gives, some valuable information that you wouldn't otherwise have, basically. And then the next one is just replay value. So I gave this 8 out of 10. For me, just the flow, the overall fluidity of the game, like I said, it's pretty much unmatched. It's super fast, it's super addicting, it's fun, it's rewarding. So I gave this an 8 out of 10. However, some people may find it gets stale, just because a lot of, the maps are very predictable and whatnot. You might feel like you're just kind of repeating the same thing over and over. So that takes me to the next point, which is modes. There are a lot of game modes in this game. You have your TDM, your secure point, your search and destroy, your capture the flag, cyborg, and gun game. So my favorite, obviously, I like secure point and capture the flag. I like a bit of an objective, but the other modes are there if you wish. So I gave the modes a 9 out of 10. There are a lot of options to keep the game fresh. However, after, said 700 hours, you find that it could get a little stale, or you're just doing the same thing over and over. For me, I actually enjoy it just because of the rest of the gameplay elements in the game are so fun to me. But yeah, we gave the modes a 9 out of 10. So this gives the overall gameplay score out of 10. We gave it a 9. So gameplay is 9 out of 10. So we're going to move on to gunplay next. So gunplay, I have broken it down into some categories here. We have gun variety, customization, recoil, aiming, ease of use, sound, and are the guns balanced? So in gun variety, I gave it a 9 out of 10. There are a lot of options to choose from. ARs, SMGs, LMGs, memeables, let's call it, with the riot shield, crossbow, stuff like that. So there's a lot of variety to fit basically your play style. But ARs are kind of king in this game, but you can still, experiment. There's a lot to choose from, basically. Customization, we gave a 6 out of 10. So there are a lot of weapon skins. They're just very difficult to get. Also, the gun attachments, there's only 3 or so attachments that are actually really worth using in a serious setting, but there are a lot of options to have just to, for fun. So that would be you put on your quick shot, your suppressor, or your detecting sight, depending what map you're on. So there is a lot of options when it comes to that type of stuff. However, not as much as some other games like Call of Duty. You can completely break down your gun, put on grips. This doesn't have all that stuff, but to be honest, I'm kind of happy it doesn't. It kind of makes things more balanced, I would think. It's just like how in Call of Duty 4 they had stopping power, and everyone used it because how good it was, and that actually evened out the playing field. And it's kind of this, and then they took that away, and then everyone started using other things, and then the game became frantic. Basically, it was all over the place. And then this game, right? People use any attachments they want, but there are certain ones that people are going to come back to if they want to perform the best. That brings me to recoil. Recoil, we put a 9 out of 10. It's for arcade shooter. It's very easy to control your gun. There are a couple that are a bit more challenging. However, the overall recoil of the guns in this game, it's satisfying, pretty easy to use for what the game should be, an arcade fast free to play shooter. And then that's the next one, aiming and ease of use. And I say this because some games have, if you take Escape from Tarkov, for example, an incredible amount of gun sway. You really feel like you're holding a heavy weapon, right? If you flick left, flick right, it's it goes all over the place, right? When in Ironsight, it's pretty much completely steady the whole time. So it makes aiming and just the ease of use to, a newer player, let's try this free-to-play game on Steam. I'm not, too familiar with first-person shooters, but let's try it. They have an okay time with the game, too. So it's easy to use the weapons, easy to aim, feels good. And that brings me on to the next one, sound. So the guns basically, in my opinion, they kind of sound like toys. So I gave this a 6 out of 10. The P90 without a suppressor, just go shoot that thing and tell me it doesn't sound like a little toy from, you found in the basement. Yeah, they don't sound like real guns, but again, it's an arcade style game, so they don't really have to. And then the overall balance of the weapons, obviously, the AUG is pretty much known as the best AR in the game, but outside of that, you don't really feel like you're at a disadvantage using other things, unless it's some SMGs or some LMGs. But in the AR category, you could pretty much use anything and still, play and perform well. The AUG, obviously, time to kill, mid-range, and stuff like that, it's noticeably better. But you can still use pretty much any of the ARs and still put up really good numbers. So for overall gunplay, we gave gunplay an 8 out of 10. So the next category we have is maps. So I love the Ironsight maps, more so than probably any game I've played. I gave these maps a 9 out of 10. They're all 3-lane. They're all really fast-paced. There's good amount of cover. There's not a whole lot of janky distraction stuff going on in the map. It's simple. It's balanced. The flow is there. So the only maps that I feel like are a little much are broadcast, because it's huge. If you die, you have to run for a long time, so it doesn't really feel like the rest of the Ironsight maps. And for me personally, maybe Discovery. I know a lot of people like that map, but it's borderline too large for what Ironsight is, in my opinion. But we gave maps a 9 out of 10. And that brings me on to the perks and the streaks. So I gave this a 10 out of 10. So I think these, let's start with the perks. There are a lot that you can have fun with. There's Assassin, longer knife. There's Drone's Friend, get your streaks a bit quicker. There's a great variety of perks that you can use. However, there are only a few to use when it comes to a competitive setting, and I absolutely love that. I think that's the way it should be. It really balances the game. Like, let's say you're playing a search and destroy and you don't have double time. You're obviously at a massive disadvantage because you are going to be heard if you're running around, and if you're strafing while ADS, you're not going to move anywhere. So obviously everyone's going to use that because you move silently when you're ADSing. So the perks become very balanced in a serious setting, but they can also be very fun in the more casual environment. I think the perks are awesome here. And that takes me to streaks. They're not overpowering, but still rewarding, and not everyone's getting a Metal Reaper in the same game, like the new COD streak, where it's just like for participating you get streaks. It's pretty dumb. So the streak in this I gave actually a 10 out of 10. The bird can do a lot of damage. The Reaper can do a lot of damage. However, you can pretty easily take it out too. So it might even be seen as a waste in some cases. There's defensive and offensive streaks, which I like a lot. You can choose whatever playstyle you want. If you're playing secure point, you might want your Hydra posted up in a fly trap on the point so you can't get naded. They work for individual modes, and they work for individual needs, like streaks and getting more kills or playing the objective. I think they absolutely nailed it when it comes to perks and streaks, so we gave this a 10 out of 10. So I actually thought and added a couple extra categories from the beginning of the video, since while I was talking about it, I thought of some other stuff. So the next one we're going to talk about is community and the competitive scene. So the community in Ironsight, especially in NA, it's very small, and you basically start to learn people's names. I've gathered a lot of new friends through Ironsight, and it's been absolutely amazing. And now we have a little Discord community, and this type of thing wouldn't have really happened with a larger scale game. It's since Ironsight is a bit smaller, it's like, oh hey, here's Pack Online again. Here's Meds, here's this person, here's that person. Let's party up, because we all wind up knowing each other because we pop on at the same time. It was almost like an old COD when there was dedicated servers, and you'd see the same names pop on around the same time. It's kind of the same thing in Ironsight. You learn the people that you're playing with and eventually establish friendships, or depending on certain levels of toxicity, since it's an online game, and that's how the nature of online gaming can be sometimes. So the community in Ironsight is great. However, the player base, and especially for NA, just isn't where it used to be, and I'll get to that later on. And then that brings me over to the competitive scene. In that, basically, it exists, but it doesn't, but it does, but it shouldn't. So there is a bit of competitive scene. It's more of a Discord run thing, like pugs, like pickup games. We're basically 5v5 search and destroy, more strict rule set, that type of stuff. It happens. But there is an actual clan war mode in the game too. But since the player base isn't really there, you're not really going to find a clan war. You'll have to organize it outside of the game in Discord and then queue clan war at the same time. That's the only way we've been able to find games. So for community and competitive scene, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Just because, one, yeah, it is a small community, but that also benefits it in some ways. In the competitive scene, it's tricky. It's not like there's a menu and a ranked system and this and that. I did read in a recent patch that they were going to be adding a solo ranked thing for like top 100 players, so that's kind of cool. But in its current standing, the community, player base, competitive scene, I gave it a 5 out of 10. And that's going to bring me on to the second last category, is game development. So these guys do put in a lot of work into the game. There's new guns, there's new maps, there's patch notes, there's, additions to this, fixed bugs here. So there is a lot of work going towards, development of the game. However, there's one underlying thing that everyone who watches this video knows about pretty much. So for the development side of things, we gave a 6 out of 10, and that's going to lead us into our last category.
Wow, there's so many things.
Yo, what? Dude, you have no idea what just happened on my screen. What? Clip that. Alright, so this brings me into the last category. Optimizations, FPS, and netcode. FPS and optimizations, I gave this a 5 out of 10, just because, even though it's like a cartoony looking game and the graphics aren't that, it looks how it should. It's not trying to be an ultra realistic game. I gave, the graphics FPS optimization a 5 out of 10. And I have a 9900K 2080 Ti system, and even below 1080p on all the lowest graphic settings, if I play Frontline, I drop under 100 frames. So I can't imagine, my heart goes out to all the laptop gamers out there who queue in on Frontline. You're going to have pretty rough time. That being said, even a lot of mid-range to high-end systems will perform almost the same, which is also, I don't know if it's a CPU thing or what, but basically the FPS, it's really hard to get, but then on like the mid-higher end systems, there's not as much gap. So in a game like Valorant, if we compare it to something like that, kind of a cartoony shooter, we're up over 300 frames the entire time. Counter-Strike, we're up over 300 frames the entire time. Call of Duty 4, I'm over 400 frames the entire time. And then I, come over to Ironsight, and depending on the map, some maps I'm over 200 or around 200, but usually it's about 130 to 230 in FPS. And then if I play Frontline, for the 2080 Ti system, I'm below 100 a pretty good amount of the time, especially around the gas station. So FPS optimization, I gave a 5 out of 10. Now, network performance of the game, I can't keep a straight face here. I gave it a very generous 2 out of 10, okay? So this is the biggest problem, the reason a lot of people in the Discord community we have here have completely left the game, and a lot of other people have completely left the game. And I have to come at this aggressively because this is the turning point in why I might be leaving this game entirely as well. You can only take so much of this. And from a casual perspective, it's okay. All of the other parts of the game make up for it. However, with every update, with every patch note, we all click on it. We all look for that one, improvement to netcode, improve server, whatever, that would make this more of a non-issue. And I know a lot of people would come back to the game from that. I know that the numbers wouldn't consistently go down like they have been. See this image, for instance, where there used to be, 20,000 people averaging on this game, and it's dipped down to 1,000. And this is one of the primary factors for that. And this is why I say competitive play shouldn't happen. When I was doing scrims with anxiety, or even scrims with, or like clan war with the, our group that we have now, I can only take getting sniped by someone who's not on my screen so much before I say, okay, competitive is legitimately a joke that shouldn't be taken seriously, and there shouldn't be prize pools, and there shouldn't be tournaments, because this needs to get fixed 100% before any competitive play should happen on a serious level. If there, like, a prize pool in something where this happens, not only, that it doesn't happen that infrequently. That's the thing. Every single session, something like this happens. I've been streaming this game for probably around a year now, and every session, something like this happens. All right. So network performance, we gave a 2 out of 10. There's a lot of jank, a lot of dying to people that aren't there, a lot of getting hit behind cover. Even in the competitive setting, when I took a corner first on a highly skilled player and I shot him 4 times and he died, and I saw him just standing there waiting for me, I killed him before he got a shot off. And I know that's because I peeked first and I had my crosshair in the right place. And even getting kills, it felt bad, not just dying to it. And especially when we we tried scrimming against EU players who are 100-something ping. They take that corner and hit you with a sniper, and it just, I can't do it. It's the type of stuff that makes you want to hide away in a blanket. And that brings me, I put this as a separate thing, peeker advantage, right? The amount of time that you have when you strafe out and see someone before they can see you. It's massive in this game. And compare it with double time, it's huge. So if you have double time, you get more peeker advantage because you peeked faster. So imagine you slow peek like this. I'll go off the camera and demonstrate this. Imagine I'm off the camera and I don't have double time, and I'm peeking out and I'm doing this. By the time my gun gets to you, you've already seen part of my shoulder and can anticipate me coming around that corner. If I'm using double time, I strafe at this speed, and all of a sudden you're getting hit by me and you haven't seen me yet. So double time legitimately increases your peeker's advantage, which is why in competitive play you'd be dumb to not use it. Again, competitive play shouldn't exist in my opinion. And for this reason, I've had to adjust my playstyle in pre-fire harder than I ever had to do in any other game, and using the perk Long Ears can make it a little bit better, where you hear them coming and you just start shooting, because that's the only way you can start hitting them before they see you, is if you're already shooting in their lane. Basically, their Peeker Advantage Ghost will walk out and start taking damage, and you still haven't seen them, but you're actually hitting them, and you know that you're hitting them. So this has made me do stuff like this. And notice here how I got like one hit marker when we slow it down. That's because he was already taking damage before I even saw him. And even then, it still sometimes doesn't work. Okay. So for Peeker's Advantage, I give this a 1 out of 10. If you know where somebody is and you have your crosshair in the right place, it's basically your obligation to peek them and shoot at them, unless they're holding a bolt action, in which case you can hit them 3 times and they can still get a shot off and snipe you in one hit. And then that also leaves the play style of being aggressive. It makes it, like, you know, overpowered in a sense, but at the same time, it's like, I know I can get that kill, but I'm also going to overexpose to multiple lanes. But if I don't peek out, he might peek out at me and kill me. So it's a weird meta in this game that isn't in any other games. It's like I need to use my Peeker's Advantage to get that kill, because if I don't take the corner first, he will. And even if he's full sprint, he's probably going to kill me or put me 1 HP. So I need to be the one to peek out first. If I hear him coming, instead of sit there and wait like in other games, if I hear footsteps, I immediately start strafing to him, because I know that's my only chance. If I fall back, I'm going to get desynced. I'm going to be behind cover getting tagged. If I sit still, he's going to see me far before I see him. If I hear someone coming, even if I'm on a head glitch, I'll pop off the head glitch and run and get towards him first, so I can see him first in this game. But that also leaves the issue of, you know, overexposing to other lanes. So if I peek out first, I guarantee that kill, even if I miss a couple shots because I saw him so early. I peek out and I can guarantee that kill, but then I'm also an idiot for overexposing to multiple lanes at the same time. So it's a weird win-loss-loss situation where you can win by peeking out, but then you lose by overexposing. But if you didn't overexpose, he's going to peek you, and then you just get hit. So Peeker Advantage, you know, I'm giving this a 1 out of 10. Netcode Performance, a generous 2 out of 10. FPS, we're giving it a 5. And that pretty much sums up this game. So you could see what I've been kind of passionate about, you know, talking about and discussing in this game. This game, I love this game. Don't get me wrong, right? This game has brought so many friends together. It's addicting. It's so fun. We create our own, you know, 100 bomb challenges, kill challenges. Let's use this gun. Let's use that gun. Let's do this together. There's so many fun scenarios in this game. It's great. The pace of it it keeps me coming back. Like I said, the gameplay of it, you know, we gave a 9 out of 10, and I'm very picky with my games, and this is a free to play game, and you know, it's fantastic. But that one underlying issue that literally everyone knows about, we just need that fixed, or this game, like that screenshot said, we're going to keep dying out. We're a dying breed. And that'd be incredibly sad to see, because this is, right now, I guess Counter-Strike exists, but this is basically the best free-to-play shooter game that is out there. It gives you the nostalgia feel. It's familiar. It's balanced. It's not pay to win. If you put money into it, it's pay to skin maybe, but not pay to win. So that one area, it just needs to get fixed. Or even myself, someone who loves this game and streams it every day, I'm already looking for other things. The buddies on Discord were talking about, you know, going back over to Counter-Strike or something, because we could only take so much of this, right? So yeah, that basically sums up my video. I hope you enjoyed this. So the overall score then. So if we go through all of the scores then from today, we have gameplay, a 9 out of 10, gunplay, an 8 out of 10, maps, a 9 out of 10, perks and streaks, 10 out of 10, optimizations and netcode, 2.5 out of 10, very generous, community and competitive scene, 5 out of 10, game development, 6 out of 10, the game, adding up all the scores, we have a 7 out of 10, although since it's free to play, I'm going to say this game is an 8 out of 10. But on a casual note, if you want to get into competitive in this game, you are going to have a pretty bad time. All right, so that basically does it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Take care.